If you're a natural lifter trying to build an impressive physique, the truth is you're going to have many periods where it feels like nothing is happening. When months go by, you keep showing up and you still look the same, wondering what's wrong. I've been training consistently now for 15 years, and looking back, one of the hardest things to learn was to be patient when the results didn't show up as quickly as I thought they would. And as someone who's been through this, I want to give you an honest breakdown of why muscle building takes much longer than you think, what you can realistically expect, and how to make sure you're not wasting your time. So when I started lifting, I was pretty naive about how muscle growth actually worked. My main goal was to get lean, and only later I found out how much that messed up my expectations. Because fat loss can happen relatively quickly. It's not uncommon to drop 1 or 2 pounds or half kilo to 1 kilo per week with a good calorie deficit. Plus, you get a lot of other feedback as well. Waist goes down, clothes fit differently, and people notice. But muscle growth is very subtle. You don't get fast visual feedback. It only shows up in photos and measurements months later. And for me, in that first year, as I lost around 45 pounds or 20 kilos, I only gained about 4 to 5 pounds, around 2 kilos of muscle. It was very hard to see. Now, I did make a lot of mistakes that I didn't have any real guidance, but even if you do everything right, there's still a genetic limit to how much muscle you can build in a given time. So if we want to understand why building muscle takes so long, we need to know what that limit is. Now, the first model I came across for predicting the genetic limit for muscle growth was by Lyle McDonald. According to his estimate, a beginner natural lifter who's doing things right could build around 15 to 20 pounds or 7 to 9 kilos of muscle in their first year. In the second year, we're looking around 10 to 12 pounds or 4.5 to 5.5 kilos of muscle gain. In the third year, it slows down again to 5 to 6 pounds, around 2.5 kilos, and every year after that, it's very slow. We're talking 2 to 3 pounds, so 1 to 1.5 kilos. The second model, I discovered later from researchers Alan Aragon and Eric Helms, tells a similar story from a different angle. Instead of pounds of muscle gained per year, they estimate gains based on percentages of body weight. So a beginner will be able to gain 1 to 1.5% of their body weight per month as muscle. For example, if you're a 160 pound beginner, that would mean you could gain 1.6 to 2.4 pounds or 3/4 to 1 kilo per month as your newbie gains. For an intermediate, that percentage goes down to 0.5% to 1% of your body weight per month, and as an advanced lifter, you could gain 1/4 to 0.5% of your body weight per month. The takeaway from both models is the same. Muscle growth is the fastest early in your lifting journey, specifically in the first year. And after that, it gets slower and slower. And when you know these limits, you also realize that you don't need a huge calorie surplus to build muscle. You need time, effort, and consistency with a good program. Now, after 10 years of coaching, I can say that both of these models are much closer to the best case scenario and that the real numbers are often much lower. And this is due to 3 factors that I know limited my progress as they do for many others. The first one is that almost no one does things optimally from the start. I remember my biggest mistake in those first few years was being scared of gaining any weight. When I finally lost those 45 pounds or 20 kilos of body fat, I was scared of going into a calorie surplus to build muscle. So I got stuck in what I call perma-cutting. Anytime the scale would go up even a little bit, I'd immediately go back into a calorie deficit. That's probably why it took me 4 to 5 years to build what these models say is possible in 1 or 2 years. And a lot of guys I speak to have a similar experience. On paper, it might look like you've trained for many years, but the real question is how much of that was productive? How many structured lean bulks have you done? If you've been perma-cutting like I did, you've been slowing down a process that is already slow. Actually, with my coaching clients who got stuck like this in the past, I set up a simple rule. For every month of cutting, we spend 2 months on building. So if you've been cutting for 6 months straight, aim to spend at least a year lean bulking with a small surplus. In long term, you only want to do short-term calorie deficit phases from time to time to clean up a bit. Spend the majority of your time doing a body recomposition, staying at your ideal weight, or a lean bulk with a small surplus. And by the way, if you'd like me to coach you and guide you through this, check out the coaching link in the description below. Now, the second reason why muscle growth often takes longer is because it's a process with multiple points of failure. Fat loss primarily depends on getting one thing right. If you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose fat. That's pretty much guaranteed. Muscle growth, on the other hand, depends on three things. You need the right training stimulus, enough good nutrition, and good recovery. If you don't have all three at a decent level at the same time, you won't grow much. So your lifestyle and your routine will limit your progress long before your genetics ever do. I've seen it firsthand. Periods of my life where I've traveled intensely for months as a digital nomad, I've mostly just maintained what I had. The impact of travel stress, new cities, different time zones, figuring out food and training on the go meant I wasn't able to maximize muscle growth. That's despite being focused on healthy nutrition and training at least 3 times per week. Of course, this is a trade-off I'm totally fine with because I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. Another time I felt something similar was when my first daughter was born. The constant sleep deprivation with a newborn and higher stress completely wrecked my recovery. I was losing strength in the gym. I had to cut my workouts down to about 45 minutes. Of course, I value being a father infinitely more than a slightly bigger bicep, but that's the reality. Things outside of the gym will affect what's happening in the gym. In life, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. If your priority is building muscle, you need to make sure you're making the right trade-offs, and you need to be honest with yourself. Habits like drinking on the weekends, missing sleep because you're up too late, slacking on your nutrition, not taking care of yourself outside of the gym will stop your progress. Now, the third factor is probably the biggest reason why building muscle is so slow for most people, and it's something I've realized after working out in over 100 different gyms. Most guys in the gym confuse fatigue with creating a real stimulus for muscle growth. I see this all the time. As soon as the reps become a little bit uncomfortable, they stop the set, especially for lower body exercises. The rep speed never slows down. They could easily do 5-10 more reps on each set. So there's no real intent to take that target muscle close to failure. And the truth is, just going through the motions like this and getting a good sweat isn't a strong enough signal to stimulate muscle growth. I know everyone on the internet is always looking for an optimal workout routine, but it's the quality of each set that makes the real difference. 6 high effort sets per week for a body part taken closer to failure will deliver more muscle growth than 12 low effort sets where you barely challenge yourself. And the key to building muscle is long-term progression. If you lift in the same weight for the same reps as you did 6 months ago, you're not going to see much growth. You need to get stronger in a moderate rep range with good form over time to see results. And this is how a lot of people get stuck. They show up, but there's no real intent to grow and learn how this whole process works. Combine that with the fact that so many are trying to diet, they're missing their protein, there's poor sleep, there's a lot of stress, and you can see why building muscle takes much longer than it should. And this is also why if you finally put in focused effort in the gym with the right program, you set up a proper lean bulk and a lifestyle that supports growth, you can start seeing progress like you've never seen before, even if you've been training for many years. And by the way, if you'd like to work with me to help you reach your physique goal, check out the coaching details in the description. I also recommend that you check out this video next.